Hi, welcome to Black Angus Reviews. I'm Black Angus, and today I'd like to talk about the philosophy and potential theology or theological application of Thanos from Avengers Infinity War 2018. I would like to analyze and compare his actions and philosophy with the idea of God. Before we dive deep, I'd just like to say apologies for the delay in my next review for The Witch. It will be coming soon. Now, I like to preface this video with a few definitions to define the video's direction. Benevolent is an adjective with multiple meanings, one being well-meaning and kindly, used in a phrase, a benevolent smile. Another adjective applying to an organization is serving a charitable rather than a profit-making purpose, a benevolent fund. Omnibenevolence. This is where we get deep into the analysis and comparison. Omnibenevolence is defined by the Oxford English Dictionary as unlimited or infinite benevolence. Some philosophers have argued that it is impossible, or at least improbable, for a deity to exhibit such a property alongside omniscience and omnipotence as a result of the problem of evil. However, some philosophers, such as Alvin Plantinga, argue the plausibility of coexistence. The word is primarily used as a technical term within academic literature on the philosophy of religion, mainly in context of the problem of evil and theodical responses to such. Although even in said context, the phrases perfect goodness or moral perfection are often preferred because of the difficulties in defining what exactly constitutes infinite benevolence. Now let me start by saying I love Infinity War so much. I've seen it 3 times in the first 2 days of release, and definitely plan on seeing it more than the 4 times I saw Force Awakens and Rogue One. Each time I was left with new insights and new questions. The 3rd time I experienced what is Infinity War, I went with a friend. After a lot of discussion, he asked if I think Thanos is bad or evil. I replied no, that he's bad because of our attachment to the heroes, or from Obi-Wan's a certain point of view. If you can remove yourself from the fandom and the subjective view of the assumed hero, you can easily flip the story, making the villain the hero and hero the villain. For example, Thanos sees that he must set the universe right, and takes upon himself a quest to balance it. To do this, he must acquire 6 Infinity Stones. Succeeding in this will mean losing what he loves most, and destroying half the population. But alas, the Avengers of Earth seek out to destroy him. Now, regardless of how you feel morally about the quest of Thanos, that entails the killing of half of the universe's population, it's filmed in a way that you can understand him and empathize with his plight. The Russos adapted the general plots of Thanos' quest in Infinity Gauntlet in amazing fashion, amending his motivation to be that of a seemingly pure benevolence. This line of thinking made me think a long time about philosophical arguments concerning religion and its rationale, how it depends entirely on our perspective and circumstances, be it being born in India, or America, or Saudi Arabia, and so on. Most likely making a person a Hindu, Christian, or Muslim, respectively. I'm not even taking into account the fact of time periods as well, and the philosophies of life applied to religion throughout history. Now, it's with this line of thinking and introspection that I'd like to offer a comparison of Thanos to the Abrahamic God, specifically the Christian God, in an analysis of benevolence and its portrayal in film and literature. Be warned, I will be covering spoilers for Infinity War beyond the general plot. Thanos is a titan in the Marvel Universe who is obsessed with, in his eyes, balancing the universe. He seeks out the Infinity Stones whose power will help him end half of all life with a snap of his finger. It's revealed that on his home planet of Titan, they were overpopulating to the point of mass food shortage. He proposed wiping out half the population at random, rich and poor, dispassionate, and at random. Mercy, he deemed it, instead of allowing most to live in prolonged agony. His people did not heed his warning or request, and all eventually perished, leaving the planet devoid of life. Having this personal experience, he becomes a conqueror of sorts, and procures armies hopping from planet to planet to complete his task of a one-half rule. Once he begins assembling all of the Infinity Stones, he comes to face great odds at obtaining the Soul Stone. He is told he must sacrifice what he loves most, his adopted daughter Gamora, who, in some strange way, in our eyes, he truly does love. Once all assembled, he annihilates half of all life, with the film ending in a bittersweet scene showing Thanos gaze upon a sunrise, a slight smile coming across his face, indicating not arrogance but contentedness as he's accomplished his goal and seemingly finds himself at peace. He does all of this with a mindset focused on the overall good and a willingness to do what he sees no one else has the fortitude to accomplish. From his dialogue, we gather that he has no intention of recognition for assuming this great task. He needs no praise. Truly a benevolent attitude for all life, regardless of our perception of the act. The only signs of ill will or true malice we can gather thus far in his story is his manipulation of the body of Nebula, who is personally attached to him in history, and who he deems a repeated failure. We also see him kill Loki, who has repeatedly failed or betrayed him, from the failed invasion of Earth with his lone army, to right before his death when Loki allows Hulk to attack Thanos in hopes of a victory, and attempting to stab him before Thanos snaps his neck. These specific deaths or punishments are due to personal involvement with the Titan, and are at least within the realm of reasonability. Now let us juxtapose this with the Christian God. He is a supreme being, Alpha and Omega, creator of all. He loves us and wishes us to be at home for eternity with him in heaven. Because we have the curse of sin upon us, he sent his Son to die, taking all the sins of all time on himself, allowing us to enter heaven if we choose to accept him. This general synopsis sounds beautiful until you dig more into the finer details, making it all apply. If God is all powerful and all good and all loving or benevolent, then how is there sin, since he created all things? Christians somehow absolve him of creating sin, but an objective viewer can understand that a precept of this all-powerful being is that nothing can exist if God didn't create it. He is all-knowing and knows all time. He knows in the end he will win against the devil, whom he created and allowed to defect our godlike pure state. He is aware of all the sins we will commit and sent his Son, who is himself, if understood through the Trinitarian view, for himself to allow us eternal joy. All things, including us, made in his image, are made to reflect and praise God. Throughout the Bible, you can find texts of God demanding praise, despising his people when not doing so, and besetting great nations upon them in punishment. There are multiple accounts of harm or annihilation on specific nations for not being holy, which an all-knowing God would see that they can't be what he deems holy if he never comes to them or appeals to their sense of morality and understanding. These are specific, passionate acts. Yet regardless of this, it is our inherent duty, supposedly, to worship and love him, just for the fact of creating us. But should creation indicate the inherent ability to dictate? Does the baby addicted to drugs due to the mother's actions become obligated to be loyal to its creator, the mother, who has beset illness upon it? Logic would indicate not, as societies across the globe would remove a child from this or conditions like this. Despite the mother creating this child, that does not indicate dictation of it. A more trivial trivial analogy I'd like to offer is George Lucas and Star Wars. Lucas created a universe within a trilogy that defined generations, untold thus far, and we loved him for it. When he decided to add to that, it was met with much bemoaning, and we rebelled till he forsook what he made. This again may seem a trivial comparison, but I see stark parallels, micro and macro. Now, in conclusion, I hope you've enjoyed listening, and despite what your religious affiliation or thoughts on the matter may be, I hope that this has been insightful and perhaps will allow anyone of faith to, if they remain faithful, to not do so blindly, and instead to actively research and analyze why a deity can be rational and worshipped. Until next time, my friends, be sure to subscribe for this and future content. I'm Black Angus, and have a great night.